Ladies and gentlemen, today I invite you to explore a mystery that affects every one of us, a silent crisis unfolding before our eyes. It is a mystery that touches our food, our environment, and even our future. It is the mystery of the bees. For centuries, bees have worked tirelessly, pollinating the plants that provide us with fruit, vegetables, and flowers. Their tiny wings sustain entire ecosystems, and their buzzing is a song of life itself. Yet in recent years, something strange has been happening. Bees are vanishing. Colonies once thriving with activity are now empty. Entire hives have disappeared overnight, leaving scientists, farmers, and environmentalists puzzled. This phenomenon, known as colony collapse disorder, has left researchers scrambling for answers. Why are these vital creatures disappearing? Theories abound: pesticides, habitat loss, climate change, and disease. Among these, harmful chemicals used in farming have been identified as a significant factor, weakening bees and disrupting their navigation. Imagine waking up one day and not knowing how to return home. That is the tragedy bees face every day. The consequences of this loss are enormous. Without bees, our food supply is at risk. Crops that depend on pollination may fail, leading to shortages and economic turmoil. A world without bees is a world struggling to feed itself. But there is hope. Scientists are working tirelessly to uncover the causes of this crisis and find solutions. Conservationists are advocating for the protection of bee habitats, and many countries have begun restricting the use of harmful pesticides. Each of us has a role to play by planting flowers that support pollinators, reducing pesticide use, and spreading awareness. Bees are more than just insects. They are symbols of resilience, teamwork, and the delicate balance of nature. Their mystery is one we must solve, not only for their survival, but for our own. Let us act now before the silence of their absence becomes permanent. Before we dive into the mystery surrounding bees, let us first understand why these small, buzzing creatures are so incredibly important to our world. At first glance, bees might seem like just another insect, flying from flower to flower. But in reality, they are the unsung heroes of our ecosystems, playing a crucial role in maintaining the balance of nature and sustaining human life. Bees are pollinators, which means they help plants reproduce by transferring pollen from one flower to another. This process is vital for the growth of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and countless other crops that make up the foundation of our diets. In fact, nearly 75% of the world's flowering plants and about 35% of global food crops rely on pollinators like bees to reproduce. Imagine a world without apples, almonds, blueberries, coffee, or even chocolate. This would be our reality without bees. Their impact goes far beyond just providing food. Bees also contribute to biodiversity by supporting the health of forests, meadows, and gardens. When they pollinate plants, they help produce seeds that grow into trees and flowers, which in turn provide shelter and food for other animals. This intricate web of life is held together, in part, by the humble bee. Bees have been around for millions of years, existing long before humans walked the earth. Ancient civilizations, from the Egyptians to the Greeks, revered bees, recognizing their importance in agriculture, medicine, and even spiritual beliefs. Honey, one of nature's most precious gifts, has been used for centuries not just as food but also as a remedy for wounds and illnesses. Beyond honey, beeswax has been essential for making candles, cosmetics, and even early forms of writing tablets. But despite their undeniable significance, bees are often overlooked. Many people see them merely as pests, fearing their sting while ignoring their contribution to life itself. It is easy to take for granted the simple act of a bee buzzing from flower to flower, yet this small movement is responsible for feeding billions of people. The work they do is so seamless, so natural, that we fail to notice it until it begins to disappear. And that is exactly what has been happening. Over the past few decades, scientists and farmers have noticed a troubling trend. Bee populations are declining at an alarming rate. The very creatures that sustain so much of our natural world are facing an unprecedented crisis. What is happening to them? Why are they vanishing? And what does this mean for us? Once abundant in gardens, farms, and wild landscapes, bees are now facing an alarming decline worldwide. For decades, researchers, farmers, and environmentalists have been raising concerns about the steady decrease in bee populations. What was once an unnoticed and gradual shift has now become a crisis. Bees, the tiny workers that sustain our ecosystems and food supply, are disappearing at an unprecedented rate, and the reasons behind this decline remain a cause for deep concern. In many regions, beekeepers have reported that their hives are failing at increasing rates. Some colonies have seen reductions of 30%, 50%, or even more within just a single year. This phenomenon is not limited to a specific area or a species of bee. It is a global crisis affecting both wild and domesticated bee populations. While honeybees, the species most associated with pollination and agriculture, have been studied the most, wild bees, such as bumblebees and solitary bees, are also facing significant declines. The decline in bee populations is not just an ecological concern, it has severe economic consequences as well. Bees play a vital role in agriculture, pollinating over $200 billion worth of crops annually. Without them, farmers would struggle to produce essential fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Many of the foods we take for granted, strawberries, almonds, avocados, and even coffee, depend on bee pollination. If these creatures continue to disappear, food shortages, rising prices, and agricultural instability could become a harsh reality beyond agriculture. The loss of bees threatens the balance of entire ecosystems. When bees pollinate flowers, they help maintain biodiversity, supporting plants that provide food and shelter for countless other species. If bees disappear, the ripple effect will be felt across the natural world. Birds, insects, and mammals that rely on plants for sustenance would struggle to survive, leading to a cascade of environmental consequences. Scientists have been documenting this decline for years, but rather than improving, the situation continues to worsen. Reports from different parts of the world highlight the seriousness of the problem. In the United States, beekeepers have been losing around 40% of their honeybee colonies annually. In Europe, nearly 1 in 10 wild bee species is on the brink of extinction. In Asia, Africa, and South America, where bee populations are less studied, local reports suggest that similar declines are occurring, though they often go unnoticed. The disappearance of bees is not due to a single cause. Rather, it is a complex problem with multiple contributing factors. Climate change, habitat loss, pesticide use, diseases, parasites, and industrial farming practices all play a role in weakening bee populations. Understanding this decline requires us to look at each of these factors carefully, as solving the mystery of their disappearance is not just about saving one species, it's about protecting the delicate balance of life on Earth among the many challenges facing bee populations. One of the most puzzling and alarming phenomena is colony collapse disorder, CCD. This mysterious occurrence has baffled scientists, beekeepers, and environmentalists for years, as entire colonies of bees vanish without explanation. Unlike natural declines due to seasonal changes or predator attacks, CCD is different. It is sudden, widespread, and devastating. The first major reports of CCD emerged in the early 2000s when beekeepers across North America began noticing a strange and disturbing pattern. Their hives, once full of healthy worker bees, were being abandoned overnight. The most puzzling part? The queen bee and young larvae were often left behind, along with ample food supplies, but the adult worker bees, the very lifeblood of the colony, simply disappeared. There were no dead bees near the hive, no signs of predators, and no clear cause. It was as if the bees had vanished into thin air. This mysterious disorder did not just affect a few beekeepers. The phenomenon spread rapidly, affecting thousands of colonies across the United States, Canada, and parts of Europe. Reports of CCD have since emerged from other parts of the world, including Asia and South America, making it clear that this is a global crisis, not an isolated event. Some beekeepers reported losing 30% to 90% of their hives within a single season, with no warning signs. What makes CCD so troubling is that it does not follow the typical patterns of colony loss. Under normal circumstances, when a bee colony declines, dead bees are found near or inside the hive, and signs of disease, predators, or starvation are usually present. With CCD, however, the bees seem to abandon their home, leaving behind their queen, unhatched brood, and honey stores, an unnatural and deadly occurrence. The consequences of CCD go beyond the loss of individual hives. Bees are responsible for pollinating billions of dollars worth of crops each year, and their disappearance could have devastating effects on global food production. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and even livestock feed crops like alfalfa depend on bees for pollination. If bees continue to vanish, we may face food shortages, rising prices, and economic instability in the agricultural industry. Despite years of research, scientists have yet to pinpoint a single cause of CCD. Instead, experts believe that it is the result of multiple stressors working together. Possible causes include pesticide exposure, habitat destruction, climate change, and diseases such as those caused by the deadly varroa mite. Some researchers also suggest that electromagnetic interference from cell towers and radio signals may be disorienting bees, preventing them from returning to their hives. Whatever the cause, one thing is clear: CCD is not just a mystery, it is a warning. A warning that something is deeply wrong with our environment, and if we do not take action, the consequences will extend far beyond the world of bees. The decline of bee populations is not a simple problem with a single solution. Instead, it is a complex crisis caused by multiple factors that interact in ways scientists are still working to understand. While colony collapse disorder, CCD, has been one of the most mysterious aspects of this decline, many other issues contribute to the overall loss of bees worldwide. Experts have identified several key threats, including pesticide use, habitat destruction, climate change, disease, and even human activities that disrupt the delicate balance bees rely on. One of the most widely studied causes of bee decline is the use of pesticides, particularly a group known as neonicotinoids. These chemicals are commonly used in modern agriculture to protect crops from pests, but they have unintended and deadly consequences for bees. Neonicotinoids affect the nervous system of insects, impairing their ability to navigate, forage for food, and communicate with one another. Some studies have shown that exposure to even small amounts of these pesticides can cause bees to become disoriented, preventing them from returning to their hives. Over time, this weakens entire colonies and leads to massive population losses. Another major threat to bees is habitat destruction. As urban development expands and agricultural lands are cleared for large-scale monoculture farming, bees lose access to the diverse flowers and plants they rely on for food. In the past, wild meadows, forests, and grasslands provided bees with a rich variety of nectar and pollen sources. Today, however, much of this natural habitat has been replaced by vast fields of a single crop, which does not provide enough nutrition for bees to thrive. Without access to a variety of flowering plants, bee colonies struggle to survive, leading to population declines. Climate change is another significant factor in the decline of bees. As global temperatures rise and weather patterns become more unpredictable, bees face new challenges that threaten their survival. Warmer temperatures can disrupt the natural cycles of plants and flowers, causing them to bloom earlier or later than usual. This means that when bees emerge from their hives in search of food, they may find that the flowers they depend on are no longer available. Additionally, extreme weather events such as droughts, heat waves, and heavy storms can destroy bee habitats and reduce their food sources, making it even harder for colonies to sustain themselves. Diseases and parasites also play a crucial role in bee population decline. One of the most dangerous threats to bees is the varroa destructor mite, a parasitic insect that attaches itself to bees and weakens their immune systems by feeding on their bodily fluids. These mites not only drain the strength of individual bees, but also spread deadly viruses throughout entire colonies. Once a hive becomes infected with varroa mites, it becomes much more vulnerable to other environmental stressors, often leading to collapse. In addition to all these threats, modern technology and human activities may also be contributing to the problem. Some scientists believe that electromagnetic radiation from cell phone towers and wireless networks interferes with the natural navigation systems of bees, making it difficult for them to find their way back to their hives. While this theory is still being researched, it raises important questions about how human technological advancements may unintentionally disrupt the natural world. Another overlooked cause of bee decline is the practice of industrial beekeeping. While beekeeping is often seen as a solution to declining bee populations, large-scale commercial beekeeping can actually put additional stress on colonies. Bees in industrial operations are often transported long distances to pollinate crops, which exposes them to exhaustion, diseases, and poor nutrition. The artificial selection of certain bee species over others also reduces genetic diversity, making bees more susceptible to disease and environmental changes. Each of these factors, pesticides, habitat loss, climate change, disease, and human activities, alone might not be enough to cause the dramatic decline in bee populations we are seeing today. However, when combined, they create a perfect storm that threatens the survival of bees worldwide. Scientists continue to study how these elements interact, but one thing is clear. If we do not address these issues soon, the consequences will be felt not just by bees, but by the entire ecosystem and human civilization itself. Among the many factors contributing to the alarming decline of bee populations, pesticide use is one of the most significant and widely debated. While pesticides are designed to protect crops from harmful insects, their unintended effects on beneficial pollinators like bees have raised serious concerns. These chemicals, particularly a class known as neonicotinoids, have been linked to declining bee health, colony collapse, and widespread population loss. Understanding the role pesticides play in this crisis is crucial if we hope to protect bees and preserve their essential role in our ecosystem. How pesticides affect bees. Pesticides, including insecticides, herbicides, and fungicides, are chemicals used in agriculture to eliminate pests, prevent plant diseases, and improve crop yields. However, many of these chemicals do not distinguish between harmful insects and beneficial pollinators. Bees, which come into contact with treated plants while foraging for nectar and pollen, are exposed to these toxic substances through direct contact with sprayed plants, consuming contaminated pollen and nectar, and even bringing the toxins back to their hives. One of the most dangerous classes of pesticides for bees is neonicotinoids, a group of neurotoxic insecticides that target the nervous system of insects. Neonicotinoids are widely used because they are systemic, meaning they are absorbed by the plant and present in its nectar, pollen, and even water droplets that bees drink. Unlike traditional pesticides, which are applied to the surface of plants and can be washed away by rain, neonicotinoids remain inside the plant for long periods, making exposure inevitable for pollinators. Even at low doses, neonicotinoids can have sublethal effects on bees. These chemicals do not always kill bees immediately, but they impair their ability to function properly. Studies have shown that exposure to neonicotinoids affects bees' ability to navigate, communicate, and forage efficiently. Bees rely on complex behaviors, such as the waggle dance, to direct their colony members to food sources. When their nervous systems are compromised, they struggle to perform these tasks, leading to disoriented foragers that fail to return to their hives. Over time, this weakens the entire colony, reducing its ability to survive. Pesticides and colony collapse disorder. Many researchers believe that the widespread use of pesticides, particularly neonicotinoids, is a major factor in colony collapse disorder, CCD, the mysterious phenomenon in which entire bee colonies disappear. While pesticides alone may not be the sole cause of CCD, they likely contribute by weakening bees and making them more vulnerable to other stressors such as disease, parasites, and malnutrition. For instance, studies have found that bees exposed to pesticides are more susceptible to infections from pathogens like nosema, a parasitic fungus that can devastate colonies. The weakened immune systems of pesticide-exposed bees make them more likely to fall prey to diseases that a healthy colony might otherwise resist. Additionally, pesticide exposure has been linked to increased mortality rates in honeybee larvae, preventing colonies from replenishing their population and leading to long-term declines. Pesticide use in industrial agriculture. One of the biggest challenges in addressing the impact of pesticides on bees is the widespread use of these chemicals in industrial agriculture. As demand for food production has grown, farmers have increasingly relied on pesticides to maximize crop yields and protect their harvests from pests. Large-scale monoculture farms, which focus on growing a single type of crop over vast areas, create an environment where pests can thrive, leading to even greater pesticide use. Unfortunately, monoculture farming also reduces the availability of diverse, pesticide-free food sources for bees. Unlike natural habitats, where a variety of plants bloom at different times of the year, monoculture farms often have only one type of plant available for pollination. This means that when these crops are sprayed with pesticides, bees have little choice but to forage in contaminated areas, increasing their exposure to harmful chemicals. The debate over pesticide regulations. The link between pesticides and bee decline has led to heated debates among scientists, policymakers, farmers, and environmental groups. Some countries have taken steps to ban or restrict certain pesticides, particularly neonicotinoids. The European Union, for example, has banned the outdoor use of several neonicotinoid pesticides after studies confirmed their harmful effects on pollinators. Other nations, including Canada, have implemented partial restrictions to reduce the risk to bees. However, in many countries, pesticide use remains widespread. The agricultural industry argues that these chemicals are necessary to ensure food security and protect crops from devastating pests. Some companies that manufacture pesticides have also challenged scientific studies linking their products to bee deaths, claiming that other factors, such as disease and habitat loss, are more significant contributors to population decline. The need for sustainable solutions. While pesticides have been an integral part of modern agriculture, their long-term impact on bee populations and the environment cannot be ignored. Scientists and environmental advocates are calling for more sustainable farming practices that reduce reliance on harmful chemicals while still protecting crops. Some alternatives include integrated pest management, IPM, a method that combines natural pest control strategies, such as introducing beneficial insects, rotating crops, and using pest-resistant plants to reduce the need for chemical pesticides. Organic farming, avoiding synthetic pesticides and fertilizers in favor of natural solutions that do not harm pollinators. Bee-safe pesticides, developing and using pesticides that are less toxic to bees and other beneficial insects. Buffer zones, creating pesticide-free zones around farms and wild habitats to provide safe areas for bees to forage. The debate over pesticides and their role in bee decline is far from over, but one thing is certain. If we continue down the path of heavy chemical reliance, we risk not only losing bees, but also disrupting the delicate balance of nature that sustains life on Earth. The decline of bees is not just an environmental crisis, it is a direct threat to global food production. Bees are responsible for pollinating a significant portion of the crops that make up our diets. Without them, agricultural systems worldwide would face devastating consequences, leading to food shortages, economic losses, and an increased reliance on artificial pollination methods that are costly and unsustainable. The impact of bee decline on agriculture is profound, affecting both small-scale farmers and large commercial operations. The role of bees in agriculture. Bees play a crucial role in pollination, a natural process where pollen is transferred from the male part of a flower, anther, to the female part, stigma, to facilitate reproduction. While some plants can self-pollinate or rely on the wind, the majority of fruits, vegetables, and nuts depend on pollinators like bees to ensure successful fertilization. Without bees, many of these crops would experience a sharp decline in yield, leading to decreased food availability and higher prices. Some of the most important crops that rely on bee pollination include fruits, apples, oranges, strawberries, cherries, blueberries, melons, and pears. Vegetables, cucumbers, pumpkins, tomatoes, peppers, and squash. Nuts, almonds, walnuts, and cashews. Oilseeds, sunflowers, canola, and soybeans. Animal feed crops, clover and alfalfa, which are essential for feeding livestock. It is estimated that 1/3 of the food we consume depends on pollinators like bees. If bee populations continue to decline, the agricultural industry will struggle to maintain current production levels, leading to widespread consequences for food security. Economic consequences of bee decline. The economic impact of bee decline is immense. Pollination services provided by bees contribute hundreds of billions of dollars to the global agricultural industry each year. In the United States alone, Honeybee pollination is estimated to be worth over $15 billion annually, while in the European Union, it contributes billions of euros to the economy. The loss of bees would not only affect farmers, but also industries that rely on crops, such as food processing, retail, and exports. If bee populations continue to decline, farmers will be forced to find alternative methods of pollination, which can be expensive and inefficient. In some regions, such as parts of China, where wild bee populations have plummeted, farmers have resorted to hand pollination, a labor-intensive process where workers use small brushes to transfer pollen from one flower to another. While this method may work on a small scale, it is not feasible for large commercial farms, making it an unsustainable solution for global agriculture. Additionally, the decline in bee-pollinated crops would lead to increased reliance on staple crops that do not require pollination, such as wheat, rice, and corn. While these crops provide basic nutrition, they lack the diversity of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants found in fruits and vegetables. A shift toward a diet based on non-pollinated crops could result in nutritional deficiencies, affecting global health and increasing the risk of malnutrition-related diseases. Impact on farmers and rural communities. Farmers, especially those who rely on bee-pollinated crops, are among the hardest hit by the decline in bee populations. Reduced crop yields mean lower incomes, increased production costs, and potential job losses for farm workers. Small-scale farmers, who often depend on local pollinators rather than managed honeybee colonies, are particularly vulnerable. Without the natural pollination services provided by bees, many of these farmers may struggle to sustain their businesses. The impact extends beyond individual farmers to entire rural communities. Agriculture is the backbone of many economies, and a decline in crop yields affects everyone in the supply chain, from farm workers to transporters, wholesalers, and retailers. The loss of bees would disrupt this network, leading to economic instability and reduced food availability in many regions. The future of agriculture without bees. If bee populations continue to decline, the agricultural industry will need to explore alternative pollination methods. While some solutions, such as robotic pollinators, have been proposed, these technologies are still in their early stages and cannot fully replicate the efficiency and effectiveness of bees. Other possible solutions include encouraging natural pollinators, protecting and promoting other pollinators, such as butterflies, beetles, and birds, to compensate for bee losses. Creating bee-friendly farms, implementing farming practices that support bee populations, such as planting wildflowers, reducing pesticide use, and maintaining hedgerows. Selective breeding of resilient bee populations, developing bee colonies that are more resistant to disease, climate change, and environmental stressors. Ultimately, the decline of bees is not just a problem for farmers, it is a problem for all of humanity. Our ability to grow food, sustain economies, and maintain biodiversity depends on the survival of these essential pollinators. Addressing this crisis requires urgent action, as the future of agriculture and global food security depends on it. Climate change is one of the most profound and far-reaching threats to life on Earth, and bees are among the many species struggling to adapt to its effects. Rising global temperatures, shifting weather patterns, and extreme environmental conditions are disrupting the delicate balance that bees rely on to survive. As climate change continues to accelerate, its impact on bee populations is becoming more evident, affecting their foraging patterns, reproductive cycles, habitat availability, and overall health. Rising temperatures and changing seasons. Bees are highly sensitive to temperature changes. Their behavior, life cycles, and pollination patterns are synchronized with seasonal changes, ensuring they emerge at the right time to collect nectar and pollen. However, global warming has disrupted these natural cycles in several ways. Premature flowering. Many plants are now blooming earlier in the year due to warmer temperatures. This means that when bees emerge from hibernation, the flowers they rely on for food may have already bloomed and withered, leaving them with insufficient nectar and pollen. Altered hibernation cycles. Some bee species hibernate during the colder months and emerge when temperatures rise. Warmer winters can lead to bees waking up too soon, only to find that food sources are not yet available. This can weaken colonies and lead to starvation. Heat stress, extreme heat waves, which are becoming more common due to climate change, can be fatal for bees. High temperatures can cause dehydration, disorientation, and reduced reproductive success in bee colonies. Impact on bee habitats. Climate change is altering landscapes worldwide, affecting the natural habitats where bees thrive. As temperatures rise, certain regions are becoming unsuitable for bee populations, forcing them to migrate to higher elevations or cooler climates. However, this is not always possible, and many bees are left with fewer places to nest and forage. Loss of wildflower meadows. Many natural meadows, which provide bees with a diverse range of nectar and pollen sources, are disappearing due to rising temperatures, land development, and agriculture. The loss of these habitats leaves bees with fewer resources to sustain their colonies. Shrinking range of native bees. Some species of bees, particularly those adapted to specific climate conditions, are struggling to survive as their natural habitats shift. Bees that thrive in cooler climates, for example, may find their habitats shrinking as temperatures rise, with nowhere left to migrate. Extreme weather events. One of the most devastating consequences of climate change is the increase in extreme weather events, including storms, droughts, floods, and wildfires. These events can have catastrophic effects on bee populations. Droughts. Extended periods of drought reduce the availability of flowers, leading to food shortages for bees. Without sufficient nectar, colonies can weaken and collapse. Floods. Heavy rainfall and flooding can destroy nesting sites, wash away food sources, and disrupt bee colonies. Ground nesting bees, which burrow in soil, are especially vulnerable to floods. Wildfires. The increasing frequency of wildfires, fueled by hotter and drier conditions, is destroying vast areas of bee habitats. Entire populations of wild bees can be wiped out in a single fire, with long-term consequences for ecosystems that rely on their pollination services. Impact on bee reproduction and colony health. Climate change does not just affect the environment around bees. It also has a direct impact on their reproduction and overall health. Rising temperatures and unpredictable weather conditions can create stress within bee colonies, making them more susceptible to disease and population decline. Reduced foraging success. Bees that struggle to find sufficient food due to climate-related changes in flowering seasons or habitat loss may produce fewer offspring, leading to declining populations over time. Weakened immune systems. Environmental stressors linked to climate change can weaken bees' immune systems, making them more vulnerable to parasites and diseases, such as the varroa mite and nosema fungal infections. Disrupted queen production. The reproductive success of a colony depends on the health and survival of the queen bee. Rising temperatures and environmental instability can lead to the production of weaker queens, resulting in reduced colony longevity. The disruption of plant-pollinator relationships. The relationship between bees and flowering plants is one of the most finely tuned partnerships in nature. Bees have evolved alongside plants over millions of years, ensuring that flowers are pollinated while bees receive the food they need to survive. However, climate change is disrupting this balance, leading to pollination mismatches, situations where bees and the plants they pollinate are no longer in sync. For example, in some regions, flowers are blooming too early due to rising temperatures, while bee populations remain in hibernation. By the time the bees emerge, the flowers have already died, leading to food shortages for bees and reduced pollination success for plants. This affects entire ecosystems, as many plants rely on bee pollination to produce fruits and seeds that support wildlife. The future of bees in a changing climate. The impact of climate change on bees is a growing concern, and without intervention, the situation is likely to worsen. If temperatures continue to rise and extreme weather events become more frequent, bee populations may struggle to adapt quickly enough to survive. The decline of bees due to climate change would have devastating consequences, not only for agriculture and food production, but also for biodiversity, as countless plant and animal species depend on pollination services. Scientists and conservationists are working to understand how bees can adapt to these changing conditions and what can be done to mitigate the effects of climate change on pollinators. Efforts to combat climate change, protect bee habitats, and promote sustainable agricultural practices are all critical steps in ensuring the survival of bees in an increasingly unstable environment. Among the many threats bees face, diseases and parasites pose some of the most direct and devastating dangers to their survival. These biological threats weaken individual bees, disrupt colonies, and contribute to large-scale population decline. While diseases and parasites have always existed in bee populations, the combination of habitat loss, pesticide exposure, climate change, and stress from industrial beekeeping has made colonies more vulnerable than ever before. Understanding these threats is crucial in the fight to save the world's bees. Varroa mites, the silent killer of bee colonies. One of the most dangerous threats to honeybees is the Varroa destructor mite. Originally found in Asian honeybees, this parasitic mite has spread to honeybee colonies worldwide, causing devastation in its wake. The Varroa mite attaches itself to adult bees and larvae, feeding on their bodily fluids. As it does so, it weakens the bee's immune system, making it more susceptible to viruses and infections. Impact on bee health. Bees infested with Varroa mites often suffer from deformities, such as shriveled wings and weakened immune systems, leading to shorter lifespans. Infected colonies may experience a slow decline, as sick bees struggle to perform essential tasks like foraging and nursing larvae. Transmission of deadly viruses. Varroa mites act as carriers for deadly viruses, including the deformed wing virus, DWV, and acute bee paralysis virus, ABPV. These viruses further weaken bees, leading to colony collapse if the infestation is severe. Colony collapse and economic loss. Beekeepers worldwide struggle to control Varroa infestations, as a single untreated colony can become completely overwhelmed within a few years. The economic losses from mite-infested colonies are substantial, affecting both commercial beekeeping operations and wild bee populations. Despite extensive research, there is no perfect solution to the Varroa mite problem. Some beekeepers use chemical treatments, but these can harm bees if overused. Others are exploring breeding programs for Varroa-resistant bees, but progress is slow. The fight against Varroa mites remains one of the greatest challenges for modern beekeeping. Nosema, the hidden gut infection. Another major disease affecting bees is nosema, a fungal infection that attacks a bee's digestive system. Nosema infections, caused by the microsporidian parasites Nosema apis and Nosema ceranae, weaken bees from the inside, making it difficult for them to absorb nutrients and maintain their energy levels. Symptoms and effects. Infected bees become sluggish, suffer from diarrhea, and struggle to fly. The infection spreads easily within a hive, leading to a loss of worker bees and a decline in overall colony strength. Seasonal threat. Nosema infections are particularly dangerous during cold months when bees remain inside their hives. Without proper nutrition, infected bees fail to survive the winter, leading to entire colonies dying off before spring arrives. The role of stress. Stress factors such as pesticide exposure, poor nutrition, and environmental changes increase a colony's susceptibility to nosema infections. Modern agricultural practices and habitat destruction have made it easier for this disease to spread. While some treatments, such as antifungal medications, exist for nosema, they are not always effective in large colonies. Many beekeepers focus on preventive measures, such as maintaining strong, well-fed hives with access to diverse foraging sources. American and European foul brood, deadly bacterial infections. Foul brood is a bacterial disease that targets honeybee larvae, leading to widespread colony losses if left untreated. There are two main types of foul brood. American foul brood, AFB. Caused by Pinabacillus larvae, this highly contagious disease turns bee larvae into a sticky, decayed mass inside the hive. AFB is so devastating that beekeepers often have to burn infected hives to prevent the bacteria from spreading. European foul brood, EFB. Caused by Melissococcus plutonius, this bacterial infection is less severe than AFB, but still weakens colonies by killing developing larvae before they can mature into adult bees. How it spreads. Both AFB and EFB can spread through contaminated beekeeping equipment, drifting bees between colonies, and honey stores containing bacterial spores. Economic impact on beekeepers. Treating foul brood outbreaks is costly, and in severe cases, beekeepers must destroy entire hives to prevent the bacteria from spreading to nearby colonies. Antibiotics can help control foul brood infections, but they must be used carefully to prevent antibiotic resistance. Beekeepers are encouraged to practice hive hygiene, regular inspections, and the removal of infected frames to minimize outbreaks. Viral diseases weakening bee colonies. Viruses are a growing concern for bee health, especially when combined with other stress factors like pesticide exposure and poor nutrition. Some of the most dangerous viruses affecting bees include deformed wing virus. DWV causes wing deformities, making it impossible for bees to fly. Heavily associated with Varroa mite infestations. Israeli acute paralysis virus, IPV, leads to paralysis, disorientation, and eventual death. Has been linked to colony collapse disorder, CCD. Chronic bee paralysis virus, CBPV, affects the nervous system, causing bees to tremble and lose control of their movements. Viruses spread easily within colonies, especially when bees are already weakened by other threats. Researchers are investigating antiviral treatments, but for now, the best defense against viral diseases is maintaining strong, healthy hives with proper nutrition and reduced pesticide exposure. The growing threat of emerging pathogens. As climate change and human activity continue to alter ecosystems, bees are encountering new diseases and parasites that were previously confined to specific regions. Some emerging threats include Tropolelaps mites, similar to Varroa mites, but even more destructive. These mites are spreading beyond their native regions in Asia, posing a new risk to honeybee populations worldwide. Zombie bees. Apocephalus borealis. This parasitic fly lays eggs inside bees, causing them to behave erratically before dying. While not yet widespread, its presence in North America raises concerns about future outbreaks. The emergence of new pathogens highlights the fragile state of bee populations and the need for ongoing monitoring and research to prevent future pandemics among pollinators. How human activities make diseases worse. Human activities have unintentionally contributed to the spread and severity of bee diseases in several ways. Globalization. The movement of bees, plants, and agricultural goods across borders has allowed diseases and parasites to spread faster than ever before. Industrial beekeeping. Large-scale commercial beekeeping operations often place thousands of hives close together, creating the perfect conditions for disease outbreaks. Pesticide use. Certain pesticides weaken bee immune systems, making them more susceptible to infections and parasites. As diseases and parasites continue to threaten bee populations, scientists, beekeepers, and environmentalists are working together to find solutions. From breeding disease-resistant bees to developing natural treatments and improving hive management, efforts are underway to protect bees from the devastating effects of these biological threats. As bee populations around the world continue to decline, conservation efforts have become more critical than ever. Bees are not just another species at risk. They are fundamental to ecosystems, agriculture, and food security. Without them, the balance of nature would be severely disrupted, leading to cascading effects on biodiversity, economies, and human survival. Conservation efforts for bees go beyond simply protecting them. They aim to restore habitats, reduce harmful human practices, and promote long-term sustainability for both wild and managed pollinators. Why conservation matters. The importance of bee conservation extends far beyond the survival of a single species. Bees are key pollinators, responsible for fertilizing over 75% of flowering plants and nearly 35% of global food crops. They contribute to the production of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and even animal feed crops like clover and alfalfa, which sustain livestock. If bees were to disappear, the loss of biodiversity would be devastating, leading to food shortages, economic hardship, and a decline in overall environmental health. Bees also play a critical role in maintaining healthy ecosystems. Many wild plants depend on bees for reproduction, supporting entire food chains that include birds, mammals, and other insects. Without bees, plant populations would decline, leading to habitat loss for countless species and a weaker natural environment. Conservation efforts focus on both wild bees and managed honeybee colonies, recognizing that all pollinators contribute to the delicate balance of nature. Whether through habitat restoration, sustainable farming practices, or legal protections, every conservation initiative helps secure the future of bees and, by extension, the health of our planet. Restoring and protecting natural habitats. One of the most effective ways to support bee populations is through habitat restoration and protection. Bees thrive in diverse landscapes where they can access a variety of flowers for nectar and pollen. However, habitat loss, due to urbanization, industrial agriculture, and deforestation, has left many bee species struggling to find food and nesting sites. Planting pollinator-friendly gardens. Individuals and communities can support bees by planting flowers rich in nectar and pollen. Native wildflowers, clover, and flowering herbs provide essential nutrition for bees, ensuring they have food sources throughout the seasons. Creating bee-friendly farms. Farmers can integrate wildflower strips, hedgerows, and cover crops into their land to provide bees with continuous food sources. Reducing monoculture farming and maintaining natural meadows helps sustain diverse pollinator populations. Preserving natural landscapes. Forests, grasslands, and wetlands are home to many wild bee species. Protecting these environments from destruction ensures that native pollinators continue to thrive in their natural habitats. In many parts of the world, conservation groups and environmental agencies are working to establish protected areas for pollinators, ensuring that bees have safe, undisturbed habitats where they can flourish. Reducing harmful agricultural practices. Modern agricultural practices, while increasing food production, have significantly contributed to bee population decline. The widespread use of pesticides, herbicides, and synthetic fertilizers has made agricultural fields toxic to bees, poisoning both their food sources and their colonies. Eliminating harmful pesticides. Certain pesticides, particularly neonicotinoids, have been directly linked to bee deaths and colony collapse. Many conservation organizations are advocating for stronger regulations on pesticide use to prevent further harm. Encouraging organic farming. Organic farming methods avoid synthetic chemicals, making them safer for pollinators. These farms rely on natural pest control techniques, crop rotation, and biodiversity to maintain healthy ecosystems. Supporting integrated pest management. IPM farmers can adopt IPM strategies, which use natural predators, crop diversity, and minimal pesticide application to reduce harm to pollinators while still managing pests effectively. By promoting bee-safe farming, conservation efforts aim to balance food production with environmental responsibility, ensuring that bees and agriculture can coexist in harmony. Providing safe nesting sites for wild bees. Unlike honeybees, which live in managed hives, many wild bee species, including bumblebees and solitary bees, nest in soil, dead wood, and hollow plant stems. However, habitat destruction and land development have drastically reduced their nesting options. Protecting natural nesting sites. Preserving natural environments where bees already nest, such as undisturbed soil, wooded areas, and hedgerows, ensures that wild bees have safe places to reproduce and raise their young. Installing bee hotels. Bee hotels, which mimic the natural cavities where solitary bees lay their eggs, can be placed in gardens, parks, and farms to provide additional nesting sites. These structures are particularly beneficial for species like mason bees and leafcutter bees. Reducing ground disturbance. Since many bees nest underground, avoiding excessive tilling and soil disruption helps protect their homes. Allowing patches of bare ground to remain undisturbed provides critical nesting space for native bees. By addressing the need for secure nesting sites, conservation efforts support the entire life cycle of wild bees, helping populations recover and thrive. Raising awareness and engaging communities. Public awareness is one of the most powerful tools in bee conservation. Many people are unaware of how crucial bees are to food production and environmental stability. Conservation organizations, scientists, and activists are working to educate communities about the importance of protecting bees and how individuals can contribute. Beekeeping and pollinator programs. Many schools and community groups have introduced beekeeping programs, allowing people to learn about pollinators firsthand. These initiatives help foster a sense of responsibility for bee conservation. Public campaigns against harmful chemicals, Activists are pushing for policy changes that ban harmful pesticides and promote sustainable farming practices. Petitions, protests, and legislative efforts aim to create long-term protections for bees. Engaging in citizen science, many conservation projects rely on volunteers to monitor bee populations. Programs such as the Great Sunflower Project and Bumblebee Watch encourage the public to report bee sightings, helping scientists track population trends and identify areas in need of protection. By engaging individuals, schools, and policymakers, conservation efforts create a collective movement towards safeguarding bees and their habitats. Supporting sustainable beekeeping practices. While honeybees are not at risk of extinction, poor beekeeping practices can contribute to colony collapse and weaken bee populations. Conservationists advocate for responsible beekeeping methods that prioritize bee health over honey production. Reducing stress on managed colonies. Large-scale honey production often exposes bees to stressors such as overcrowding, artificial feeding, and frequent hive transportation. Sustainable beekeeping focuses on natural colony management and minimizing disruptions. Preventing disease transmission. Beekeepers play a crucial role in monitoring and controlling diseases that affect bee populations. Proper hive hygiene, regular inspections, and natural treatment methods help prevent the spread of deadly pathogens. Avoiding overharvesting honey. Bees produce honey as a food source for the colony. Ethical beekeeping ensures that hives retain enough honey to sustain themselves through winter, reducing the need for artificial sugar substitutes that weaken bee health. By promoting ethical and sustainable beekeeping, conservation efforts help maintain healthy honeybee populations while ensuring that wild bees are not overshadowed by commercial beekeeping operations. Global and local initiatives for bee conservation. Across the world, organizations, governments, and environmental groups are implementing conservation initiatives to protect bees. Some notable efforts include the European Union's ban on neonicotinoids. The EU has taken a strong stance against harmful pesticides, restricting their use to protect pollinators. The Pollinator Health Task Force, USA. This initiative focuses on improving pollinator habitats and reducing pesticide risks for bees across the United States. United Nations Pollinator Protection Programs. The UN has launched global strategies to address pollinator decline, encouraging countries to take action. At the local level, many cities have started Bee-Friendly Cities initiatives, which involve planting pollinator gardens, banning toxic pesticides, and creating educational programs to support bee conservation. Through a combination of policy changes, habitat restoration, sustainable farming, and community engagement, conservation efforts are making strides towards securing a future where bees can thrive. While the decline of bee populations is a global crisis, every individual has the power to make a difference. From making simple changes in our gardens to supporting sustainable farming, educating others, and pushing for stronger environmental policies, everyone can play a role in protecting these essential pollinators. The fate of bees is closely tied to our actions, and by taking responsibility for their survival, we ensure the health of ecosystems, agriculture, and biodiversity for future generations. Creating bee-friendly habitats in our own backyards. One of the most effective ways to help bees is to provide them with safe and nourishing environments where they can thrive. Bees depend on diverse and abundant floral resources for nectar and pollen, as well as safe nesting areas. However, urbanization and large-scale farming have drastically reduced the availability of these essential resources. Planting pollinator-friendly flowers. One of the simplest yet most impactful things individuals can do is plant a variety of flowers that provide nectar and pollen throughout the seasons. Native wildflowers, herbs like lavender, thyme, and rosemary, fruit trees, and flowering shrubs attract bees and give them the food they need. Avoiding pesticides and chemicals. Many insecticides, herbicides, and fungicides contain toxic compounds that harm bees, either by killing them directly or by weakening their immune systems. Choosing organic gardening methods and using natural pest control alternatives can create a safer environment for pollinators. Providing fresh water sources. Bees need water for hydration and hive cooling, especially in hot climates. Placing shallow dishes of water with small stones for bees to land on can help provide this essential resource. Leaving wild spaces undisturbed. Many wild bee species, including ground nesting and cavity nesting bees, rely on natural habitats such as patches of bare soil, fallen logs, and hollow stems. Avoiding excessive lawn mowing and leaving some areas of a garden untamed can offer safe nesting sites for solitary bees. By making these small but significant changes, we can turn our gardens, balconies, and even window boxes into bee sanctuaries that support local pollinator populations. Supporting local beekeepers and sustainable honey production. The way honey is produced can have a major impact on bee health. Many large-scale commercial honey producers prioritize profit over the well-being of bees, leading to overharvesting, stress from frequent hive relocations, and the use of artificial sugar syrups instead of natural honey reserves for feeding bees. Supporting ethical, small-scale beekeepers ensures that honey production remains sustainable. Buying local, organic honey. Purchasing honey from responsible beekeepers who prioritize bee welfare ensures that honeybees are cared for properly. Many small-scale beekeepers use natural hive management techniques that do not harm the colony. Avoiding mass-produced honey. Many commercial honey brands mix honey with additives and rely on industrial beekeeping practices that contribute to bee stress and decline. Checking labels for organic and ethically sourced honey helps consumers make informed choices. Exploring plant-based sweeteners. While honey is a natural product, excessive demand can put pressure on managed bee colonies. Reducing dependence on honey by using plant-based sweeteners like maple syrup, agave nectar, or date syrup can help ease the burden on honeybee populations. By choosing ethically produced honey and supporting responsible beekeeping, individuals can contribute to a system that values bee welfare over mass production. Encouraging sustainable agriculture and pollinator-friendly farming. Agriculture is one of the biggest factors affecting bee populations, with industrial farming practices contributing to habitat destruction, pesticide exposure, and monoculture landscapes that offer little nutritional diversity for bees. Consumers can play a role in encouraging more sustainable farming methods by making conscious food choices. Buying organic and locally grown produce. Organic farms avoid harmful pesticides and prioritize biodiversity, creating healthier environments for pollinators. Shopping at local farmers markets and supporting small-scale organic farms help promote bee-friendly agriculture. Reducing food waste. Less food waste means less demand for industrial farming, which reduces the environmental strain on bee habitats. Simple steps like planning meals carefully, composting leftovers, and supporting food rescue initiatives can have a positive impact. Advocating for regenerative farming practices. Regenerative agriculture focuses on restoring soil health, increasing biodiversity, and reducing the need for chemical inputs. Supporting farmers who use these methods helps create agricultural systems that work with nature instead of against it. As consumers, the choices we make at grocery stores and markets can send a powerful message to food producers, encouraging them to adopt more bee-friendly farming practices. Educating others and raising awareness. Many people are unaware of the critical role that bees play in food production and ecosystem health. Raising awareness within communities, schools, and social circles can help inspire more people to take action. Teaching children about bees. Encouraging young people to appreciate and respect bees through educational programs, interactive activities, and hands-on gardening projects fosters a future generation that values conservation. Hosting workshops and community events. Organizing events focused on beekeeping, gardening for pollinators, or sustainable food choices can engage local communities in bee conservation efforts. Using social media to spread the message. Sharing information, articles, and petitions related to bee conservation on social media platforms can help reach a wider audience and encourage collective action. By educating others, individuals can amplify the impact of their conservation efforts and help build a stronger, more informed movement to protect bees. Supporting environmental policies and legislation. While individual actions are important, large-scale policy changes are necessary to address the root causes of bee decline. Governments and environmental agencies play a crucial role in regulating pesticide use, protecting natural habitats, and funding research on pollinator health. Citizens can contribute to policy changes by signing petitions for bee protection laws. Many environmental organizations advocate for stronger regulations on pesticide use and habitat conservation. Signing and sharing petitions can help put pressure on lawmakers. Voting for environmentally conscious leaders. Electing officials who prioritize environmental protection and sustainability ensures that pollinator conservation remains a government priority. Advocating for local pollinator-friendly policies. Encouraging city councils to create pollinator gardens, ban harmful pesticides, and implement bee-friendly landscaping policies can make communities safer for bees. Public participation in policy advocacy helps drive meaningful legislative changes that protect bees on a larger scale. Participating in citizen science projects. Scientific research on bee populations, habitat loss, and climate change is crucial for understanding how best to protect pollinators. However, scientists often rely on citizen observations to collect data on bee populations and behavior. Joining bee monitoring programs. Organizations like the Great Sunflower Project, Bumblebee Watch, and the Xerces Society invite individuals to record bee sightings and contribute to scientific studies. Helping track bee populations. Simply reporting bee sightings, identifying different species, and noting seasonal patterns can provide valuable data for researchers studying pollinator decline. Engaging in native plant restoration efforts. Many conservation groups encourage volunteers to plant and maintain pollinator-friendly gardens in public spaces. By participating in citizen science projects, individuals can directly contribute to the research and conservation efforts that shape future policies and initiatives for bee protection. Reducing our carbon footprint to combat climate change. Climate change is altering bee habitats, disrupting food availability, and increasing the frequency of extreme weather events that threaten pollinator populations. While solving climate change requires global cooperation, individuals can help reduce their environmental impact in ways that also benefit bees. Using sustainable transportation, walking, biking, carpooling, or using public transportation helps lower carbon emissions, reducing environmental stress on pollinators. Supporting renewable energy. Choosing clean energy sources and reducing fossil fuel consumption can help mitigate climate change, which directly affects bee populations. Adopting a more plant-based diet. Reducing meat and dairy consumption helps lower agricultural emissions and decreases the demand for large-scale farming that destroys bee habitats. By taking steps to reduce carbon emissions, individuals contribute to a healthier planet where bees and other wildlife can thrive. The mystery of the bees is not just about their incredible abilities, intricate societies, and vital role in our world. It is also about the urgent challenge we face in ensuring their survival. Bees have thrived on this planet for millions of years, shaping ecosystems, pollinating plants, and sustaining life as we know it. Yet, in just a few decades, human actions have placed them in grave danger. The good news is that the power to protect bees lies in our hands. Whether through planting pollinator-friendly gardens, supporting ethical beekeeping, choosing sustainable food sources, advocating for policy changes, or educating others, every small action contributes to a greater impact. By working together, scientists, farmers, policymakers, and everyday individuals, we can create a world where bees flourish once again. Saving the bees is not just about preserving a single species. It is about protecting the delicate balance of nature, ensuring food security, and safeguarding biodiversity for future generations. If we listen to the message the bees are sending us, act with urgency, and embrace the responsibility we share, we can turn the tide and restore harmony between humanity and these extraordinary pollinators.